Very much, and I'd like to thank everyone for coming to tonight's budget hearing. This is the second of two regularly scheduled budget hearings of the Fiscal Committee. Following this hearing tonight, there will be a public hearing on the introduced 2013 budget as required, beginning at or about 6:30 p.m. The purpose of tonight's hearings is to continue our review of the introduced 2013 budget and the process of crafting a final document. We are planning for final adoption of the budget on April 25th, subject to state approval. Tonight we will hear from the following departments who will make presentations to the Fiscal Committee: Department of Administrative Services, Parks and Community Renewal, Department of Engineering, Public Works and Facilities, and Department of Public Safety. For the members of the public who are not familiar with the format of our budget review process, please understand this is first a hearing between the Fiscal Committee and the county's department. There is no public comment during this process. You will, however, be allowed to make comments about the introduced 2013 budget at the public hearing directly after this. Okay. We'll start on my right with Director Dorado. Or if you're not ready to start, then I'll start with Director Graziano. It looks to be the case.
Well, not necessarily, but I just want to say thank you for letting us sit here tonight. What we did is we thought if all three departments would just come together as one, since all of us kind of work together in one aspect or another, and I am the most senior department head, so they asked me to open it up to them. So,
give it your best shot.
Yeah, I'll sure as heck try. Noticing the last couple budget hearings that you guys went through, I noticed you guys concentrate on the numbers a lot, which is basically where I went with my presentation, which is out in front of you. I'll start on mine, and then if Ron or Matt want to chime in certain spots, we'll have Robert switch over to whatever page you guys need to be on. If you have any specific questions on certain pages or anything else, just
I'll tell you what. In the interest of time, I appreciate that everyone included accomplishments for 2012, and they're here for the shareholders to review. If they have any questions, they can certainly ask that. But why don't talk about your what your budget was in 2012, and then you can go right into 2013.
Sure. I'll start by saying my department has changed over the past few years. Moving into 2013, we've taken on hospital maintenance into my department too. Going from 2012 to 2013, the department itself has had a reduction of $334,000 overall, and that's with taking on hospital maintenance, as well, using numbers that they had from last year moving into this year. If you can go to the page we're on. I'm going to go right to the numbers page, which goes over everything else. And I'll just.
Which page are you working
I'm on, I guess, the second or third, the last page. It has the comparison to 12 to 13.
Okay.
I'll start right on the top. The directors. The director from 2000 to 2013 increased by $2,000, and that was due to the 2% raises that we got this year, and the salary adjustment. Part of my salary does not come from county tax dollars. Other part of my salary comes from motor vehicle fines, so that's why you only see the $30,000 total that the salary line item that's affected under county tax dollars. OE stayed the same. There's no change for that. Engineering is a big jump. We went from 179 to 881. Now that is specifically due to taking on the traffic bureau. If you remember, back about a month ago, we went through the NJDOT trust funds interpretation that our force account is not eligible for funding. And from 1996 through 2012, they allowed us to fund the traffic bureau through that account, and we are no longer allowed to do that. We are gonna continue to get that same amount of money. We're just gonna put it towards road projects and bridge projects, and we took on, with your approval, and again, thank you, we took on the traffic bureau under Tom's division as county tax dollars. It was always there, but now it's county tax dollars. That's why you see the increase of $702,000 total, just for the engineering division.
And that represents how many people, Joe?
That represents 10 people, including Angelo Paparella. That includes that. OE went up $8,000, and that's also due to taking on them, but also part of that is the increased expenses with GIS contracts that we have throughout the county. Just with that. Next page is Public Works.
Sure, do you want to hold the question to the end, or do you want to?
I would just say, if anyone has a question at this point, just indicate that you have.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr.
Joe.
Drew.
So, Joe, overtime, I see the zero last year. Is that just in case we need it? Is that why that appropriation is there? Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. Absolutely. Overtime last year, again, through the Traffic Bureau, was paid also out of that trust fund. And based on the numbers that we spent in 2012, we had to add that into 2013 budget to assume that we're going to have some overtime this year, whether it's on paving projects, whether it's snow plowing or whatever. But this is what we spent last year on 2012.
So that's the same amount as last year, just paid at a different area. This is now more from a county tax dollars.
Yes, sir.
Tax.
Quickly, is there any place here that you include the motor vehicle fines and all the other finances that go into the department? Because when you see this, I really personally want to see the overall department expenses, regardless whether it's a taxpayer paid or through grants or what have you, because net, this is the number of heads that we have working for us, and that's how much expense is in the event that those monies are not there.
Sure.
Was that here somewhere?
No, no, it's not in these numbers here, but I can hopefully turn to BB or to Mel, and they could help us out with the numbers that we do spend for motor vehicle funds.
Is that the only source of other additional funds that you receive?
We have some grant funds. Some of my employees are funded through the open space trust fund. 3 employees, I believe, are funded through there. So that's just my. This is the major. Motor vehicle fines is the bulk of it, though. So I
I
gave you those
understand
numbers.
that part, but basically still, it doesn't really, of course, from my vantage point, a true picture of what exactly we've been spending in your department overall. If it's not here, you're not gonna, it's.
Correct.
I think, well, the point on the funds that are derived from motor vehicle funds, they just go to salaries, or do they go to others?
They go to OA and they go to South.
Yes. So maybe we can break that out a little bit. Just what the total, like the real one, what the total number is, at least.
Well,
At least what it is in 2012.
What is the department using? You know, it could be, the reality is, like, for example, in this particular case, as we're all aware, and we all supported the idea of bringing those people, the group that was, the state would not fund, which was $881,000. We all understand their need in terms of the overall operation, and we supported that. I mean, that's very clear. But, you know, it's good to know what exactly other areas are, because the more could be cuts coming down the road. So we may not be,
the motor vehicle fine pool is basically taken, I think, from tickets throughout the county, and we get a portion of that goes into that fund, and that's where that is.
right, no, I know the origin.
And if I can get maybe, you guys have a number on that, maybe?
We spend approximately 3.9 out of motor vehicle in support of public works activities, and those activities have to be specific to maintaining roadways consistent with the statute. I don't have a handle right now on the OE dollars, but I can provide that to you on what we spent last year.
And it's beyond that, you said you have some people that are open space people, and you have any other source of revenue besides those?
No.
Just going back to the OT, you said that the 45 or even your OT was what we had last year. I just need clarification. Is that what we budgeted last year, or was that actual last year?
That was, I believe that was, yeah, that is.
Actual
that
what
was
we
an actual
paid to
number.
these these employees that we transferred their funding.
Okay, so that is the actual amount, so it's not what was introduced, and that was not what the budgeted amount was.
No, there was no overtime in engineering last year. In engineering property.
Correct.
Right.
But when we brought it over, you're saying that it was what we paid last year?
Yes.
Okay.
Just a follow-up on that, what sort of projects, the 45, is that related directly to the storm we had last year? Is that where the 45 number comes up? Or do we normally incur about that much overtime for that division?
Part of that is from the storm from last year, although traffic didn't work too much on the storm. A lot of this is due to our paving projects that we have throughout the year. We have our guys always there directing traffic for these projects now. So this whole staff is always on the paving job from start to finish. And those jobs start earlier than we start and they end later than we end at the end of the day. So we always keep guys on hand, even if they're working on a weekend or something like that, just to keep it going. It ends up to be cheaper for us in the long run. We don't have to pay a contractor for that.
So in this budget, we're not diminishing, no diminishing of the road projects?
No. In fact, with this, like I said earlier, we're going to be able to increase the amount of roads that we do because we're still going to get the same amount of money that we get every year. We get about $4.5 million every year on that from the trust fund. And now, instead of using $1 million of that, or roughly $1 million of that, to salaries and to traffic, we're going to put that right back into roads and bridges and stuff like that. Okay. Next page is Public Works. Public Works, $359 total increase. Obviously, the salaries were reduced by $27,000. Overtime went up $15,000 from 2012. That's strictly due to the Superstorm Sandy. OE went up $12,600. Once that's finalized at the end of the year, that might come down lower. We don't know. We base that on last year's numbers. A lot of that is for mosquito, for the chemicals. We don't know what the mosquito season is going to bring every year. We don't know how many chemicals we need, or whether it's more than last year or less than last year. Right now, we're basing this year's mosquito season on last year's numbers, and we were a little bit short last year, so we had to increase that a little bit to $52,600. That should cover us with chemicals and everything for our mosquito bureau. That basically is everything for OE for Public Works. Jump back up to salaries. We reduced our salaries by $27,000. Obviously, a lot of that due to the layoffs that we had and retirements also. And we're trying to keep, we're not filling any vacancies at this point, so we're going to try and keep that trend going the same way there. Hopefully, if things do turn around at all, we might be able to fill some more positions moving down the road. So overall, Public Works was a $359 increase from 2012 to 2013 in that division. Any questions on Public Works?
Sure, Mr. Rob.
Let me just ask you a question. Last year we had 2 cases of West Nile virus in the county, 2 reported cases in the county. Maybe 1. Was it 1 or 2?
I don't remember. I think it was 1.
Okay. Well, let's say 1. Is there anything that we need to do differently? Do we need anything else? More equipment? Is there any more grants that could be obtained in order to the fact that we're having not only in New Jersey but also in the surrounding counties across the way in New York, that there's been increases in the number of cases? Is there something that needs to be done?
Ralph Strano, who heads that bureau, is on top of every grant that we could possibly get through there. He's very involved with the mosquito world, if I could say that. He's definitely on top of everything. He does anything he possibly can to increase, whether it's manpower out there, increase spraying times. We get calls from every single township on a regular basis during the summer months and during early fall months, and we do react instantly. We send people out all the time. I mean, I think having one case in the county albeit it's not good, it's actually a pretty low number, compared to what we have in this county. And, I think we're doing a pretty good job, and I can always see if there's anything else they can look for, but I'm pretty sure that Ralph is on top of everything there.
Yeah, just, Joe, on these numbers, coming back to Freeholder Estrada's point from before, these numbers, are they inclusive or exclusive external grants, or is this just appropriations of tax dollars?
This is just appropriations of tax dollars.
Okay, so we'll get those numbers for
Yes.
the full picture. And just to the mosquito, were we, this time last year, we'd already been out spraying because of the mildness of last year's winter.
Yes, absolutely.
So there's a good chance that we'll see savings there.
I hope so.
Yeah, because of more wild winter.
But then again, because of the storm, you might see increased also for the superstorm Sandy. So we're still not sure how that's going to affect us. We knew how Irene affected us, but we're not sure how this one's going to affect us because there wasn't as much rain this year, at least in our area. Going back to Hurricane Irene a couple of years back. If there's nothing else, I'll move on to facilities. Facilities saw a big reduction. We went down $700,000 overall in the division. Salaries bumped up about $129,000, as you can see there, and that's strictly due to contractual raises.
Union contracts?
Yes, union contracts for that. Overtime went down $28,000. I based it on the actual numbers used for 2012, so we were able to reduce that. And I'm hoping again to keep that on a downward trend. The big number is the OE expenses. We dropped at $800,000 moving into 2013. During the course of last year, moving into this year, and every time I come up to the podium on a agenda meeting and I bring up a contract that we're going to be hiring, whether it's a plumbing contractor, a electrical contractor, I've been stating that we have looked at the numbers we've used in the past years and we reduced that contract to that. This is what you're seeing now. So I was able to cut that down by $800,000 by knocking down the contracts that we've had in the past. So
give me an example.
An example would be we cut down a lot of the spending on like the roofing contracts. Let's say we go out for a roofing contract and it comes in, and on the bid we have certain specs, and then that number comes in at $250,000. That's just a random number. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. Going through the current year, we'll notice that when that contract's almost due to be renewed and to go out to bid again, Neil's division goes back and I asked them to get me what we actually spent on that $250,000 roof contract. And we might not have spent $250,000, we might have only spent $150,000. So moving into next year's contract before it goes out to bid, we lower everything on the bid. So then when the bid comes in, it comes in lower than what we spent on the previous year. And that's just one, roofing, plumbing, door control systems, electromechanical, electrical repairs, and also janitorial supplies is a big one. We've been cutting down on that expense a lot. That's a huge contract that we have throughout the county. But we've been noticing some duplications on supplies, and we've cut those contracts down, not in half, but close to it. And that's a direct effect on our budget moving into this year and hopefully the years after this year.
Question, Fielder Bergen.
Just so I understand,
Sure.
when you say you cut them down, you're cutting down quantities?
Yes.
So that
Yes.
the bid comes in, maybe the price doesn't change, but the quantity is lower, so the bottom line.
Absolutely.
That has to be budgeted.
Right.
Okay.
I can't change the price on what they're going to bid on
Right.
stuff. We just lower the quantities based on what we used in previous years. Sorry I didn't explain that earlier.
Park maintenance.
Park maintenance again, we were able to cut down in every single area park maintenance. We dropped the overall budget of park maintenance to $326,000 overall. Salaries went down again due to layoffs. Overtime is cut down again based on what we used in previous years. I'm sorry, in 2012 we put that number onto 2013, and again we're going to keep that trend going down. Trying to cut as much overtime as we possibly can, and only use it where we absolutely have to. OE again went down $195,000, and that's also based on what we spent in 2012. Again, a lot of that has to do with either tools, equipment, and stuff like that. So we have stuff that's in supply now. We don't need to increase that at all. Since Mike took over back a few years ago, Mike's been able to cut a lot of things down and still keep the parks looking good. As you guys know, if you've been out there, we have a lot of, all our parks look outstanding now. I mean, not that they didn't prior, but they're just really upkept right now. And I think I spoke with everyone of the fielders on the board in front of me about one or more of our parks and how we've kept them clean in the area, and things look pretty good. And then my last division, which is a new division to me, so it's going to be kind of rough for me to do this. I don't really know what's. I have some numbers from the previous year. They're not on your sheet in front of you, and that's because this wasn't under me last year, so they will just put on there for this year. The increase in hospital maintenance overall budget is going to be $14,000 from 2012. $14,143 is going to be the actual increase based on 2012 numbers. That breaks down to salaries going up by $25,857 due to contractual union raises. Overtime has dropped down. I dropped overtime down from $145,000. Again, it's not on your sheet in 2012 to $105,000. And that's strictly based on going over numbers with Mr. Scutari on what he spent last year in 2012, and we're going to move that into 2013. OE, $385,000. Again, that has not changed from 2012 to 2013. That is what they spent in 2012. We're going to keep that in for 2013, and so that is no change at all. So it's a net change of a positive $14,143 for hospital maintenance moving into 2013. So that's all I have on all the numbers.
Quick question. You said on the hospital maintenance, how much was it the 2012 budget?
The 2012 budget overall was $1,580,177.
So change from year to year is only a
I'm sorry, hold on, I'm sorry, I might be off on that number. Maybe off on that number.
It's a zero change. The hospital maintenance was lumped into Runnels Hospital, and in the budget sheet, it is just one lump sum item. We took the salaries and the OE directly for that division and moved it into Public Works. So it's really no difference other than the salary increases allotted to those employees that were in hospital maintenance under Runnels.
So what was the 2012 hospital maintenance cost?
Hold on, say a second.
But there's got to be a reduction, because we were just saying the overtime was 140 something, now it's down to
Right.
5.
The budget last year was $1,580,000.
$1,580,000 went down to $1,566,000, so it's a $14,000 reduction. I'm sorry, I said up $14,000. And salaries went up $25,857, and overtime went down $40,000. So there's your difference. $40,000.
OE remains.
Yes, and that's a zero.
What went up?
Salaries went up $25,857, and the overtime went down $40,000.
salaries went up just based on the
Based on,
round.
yes, contracted.
Is it possible that we can just get that breakdown to see, because you're pulling it from an existing budget that's there, so it's like you're splitting that budget out. So if we can just get that to make sure that it's apples to apples, that it's all one of this. Which I know that it is, but I just want
Fielder.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Two things. Got any overall, your entire department numbers? I see this is all broken down by individual areas, and that's great.
Sure.
I'd like to see the overall numbers at some point. I don't need to see them tonight.
The overall department,
Last year to this year.
sure, I have that if you need.
All right.
My overall department salaries,
Just overall.
overall, I'm down $340,000. $334,326 is what I'm down overall in the department.
And that factors in the changes in and out?
Yes, my OE total for the department, I'm down $974,850, and my salaries and overtime, I'm up $640,520. So it's a net savings of $334,326.
Good. I guess the second question was, you referenced the storm and some of the expenditures, and I know we're going to get reimbursed on a majority of some of the numbers that we spent during that storm. Any idea of when that will come in? And maybe this is a question for Director Taylor, when that money can be used to offset any kind of...
I can answer that a little bit. Right? I mean, we're still in the process of collecting numbers. Right now, we're close to about $2.5, almost $3 million. $2,259,000 is a rough number right now. What we're at on my side of it, I know I'm working with Director Moran, Bill Kane, Matt Mathan, and we're getting numbers together from every department in the county to get that submission. This is an ongoing process. When the money comes back to us, I can't answer that question, sir.
When did we, I guess for Irene, we got, I guess, almost the following year. It takes almost like 9 months, or remember September, October kind of time frame for reimbursement. Is there a cutoff date for when they need the numbers by?
We've been working directly with them. FEMA Condom, in fact, there's a meeting Friday morning again to keep going over. FEMA's on top of it as well as we are. You know, we have to keep on top of them too to make sure that, yeah, but there is no deadline right now to get things submitted. We're on time or way ahead of schedule with this stuff.
All right. And I guess Director Taylor, we can't include anything in the budget until we kind of know what the number's going to be getting back. Obviously, we haven't submitted it yet, so we don't know what the ratio of reimbursement's going to be.
That's correct. The state will not allow public entities to anticipate that revenue unless they actually have the approvals in hand and a check.
So we would just take that when we get it and use it for next year's budget
That's
or
absolutely
surplus,
correct.
whatever. All right, very good. Thanks, Chairman.
There was also, excuse me, Chairman, there was also a 30-day period, I think I mentioned at one point, whoever 30 days that we pick in that storm, that we could get 100% back. So we've got that down to, I think, October 29th to November 20th, somewhere around there is where we spent the most money, and we're going to submit that as our 30-day period, so we'll get 100% back because we use our own forces. If you remember, we didn't go out to contract with any vendors. We did everything ourselves.
We don't have a contract with that Ash.
No, we don't.
Ashford.
Ashford, no, we don't.
It's a little off the topic, but it talked about, Finance Director mentioned anticipated revenues. And I saw a story in the paper today about, in the governor's budget, where they're actually anticipating revenue for a settlement of a lawsuit, or
Yes,
for
that is
several
absolutely
lawsuits.
correct. Yes, sir.
We don't do that, do we?
No, sir, we don't.
But it was in the tens of millions of dollars, wasn't it?
The state would not allow us to do so unless we actually had a settlement agreement signed off and approved. And again, they would even look at that as a one-shot revenue, which they frown
Right.
upon.
But they don't have any settlements in the lawsuits, as far as I know, right? I just like how they operate on their own set of rules in order to balance their budget, but that's just an aside. like the big guy gets to do what he wants. But, are there any other questions in terms of the numbers right now? Cameron?
Comment,
Oh, go ahead. I just had in terms of questions about the numbers.
No, I wanted to comment about park maintenance. Today I drove through Wernango Park and the chillers are gone before the snow melted. So I'm extremely ecstatic about that. Thank you very much.
I would like to give you, anything else, anyone? One thing I'd like from as chair of the fiscal committee going forward, and you might have this information, but I'd like to see it, the committee get it, and then we can disperse it, is really kind of a status report on all the projects that we have.
Sure.
And I'm sure you must have, you probably have that information elsewhere. Kind of like looking at 2013, sort of synthetic turf with canopy. And I know in some areas that's done already, or some of it's almost done. So I know you have a myriad of projects, too numerous to mention here in terms of your goals. But if I gave you a month, by the time we have a fiscal meeting in May, we could do that. So and I think that's something that we've talked about having on occasion, and we just haven't really expressed that to you. So
it's also a good document to have in front of you. I mean, you'll look at it and you'll say, okay, wow, we're doing this much work here. This is what's left on it. It's something that I probably should have provided you in the past, but it's something I'll get to within the next.
And it's certainly for everybody's information, because I think what happens is there are some things that happen and we don't even realize they're completed, and there's other things that fall behind, and then when it's brought to our attention, then you're on the hot seat. So I would think that's something we could probably do on a monthly basis, just so everybody's on board as to knowing exactly where all these, because there's so many different things. I won't go into it.
Yeah, we can do.
If we could do that, and I'll talk with you offline about that. Everybody's okay with that. Real leader, go off.
I think you said we spent $14.5 million on roads annually.
No. We get $4.5 million from that trust fund every year, and that's usually what goes to our directly to the road paving project.
So how much do you spend on road repair, and how much of that?
That's all the $4.5 million that we get from the trust fund we put right into the roads. We do about 11 to 13 miles of roadway each year, and that's usually what we get out of that. Road repair, that's all done in house. We have. I just got a number today from Tom Minio, which is a pretty impressive number. We maintain 4,564 basins throughout the county. Storm basins, which is a number that kind of throws my eyebrows. I know we have a lot of them, but I didn't realize we have 4,564 of them, and that's from our annual report from the state, because the state, the state also checks this stuff for us too. So that's.
But and that's great to know, because those are the type of things that nobody cares about until something goes wrong, or there's a problem. And that's a lot of different things. That's a lot of pieces to maintain and make sure that they're in proper order. Any other questions before we move on to the performance? Okay.
Thank you, Chairman.
Since you're in charge over there, what's that?
I'm going to turn it over to Ron Zuber.
There you go.